Hi, I'm David. Thank you for spending the night with us. Tonight we travel back nearly 300 years to Venice on a quiet autumn evening, where a gondola carries you up a small side canal to the water door of a family who is expecting you. There is supper in the kitchen, a warm bed above the water, and after midnight a gentle rain on the canal. Everything you will hear is drawn from real history, and the sources are listed below. There are no ads waiting to wake you, and nothing sudden ever happens here. So settle in, let the day go, and let the past keep you company. Good night. Welcome, traveler. You can close your eyes now. There's nothing here you need to see with your eyes open, and nothing that needs anything from you at all. Tonight, the only work being done is the work of resting, and you're already doing it perfectly. Tonight, we are going back nearly 300 years to a city that should not be possible and has been quietly being possible for 1,000 years anyway. Venice, a city built not beside the water, but in it, a few miles out from the mainland of Italy, on low mud islands in a shallow lagoon, so that its streets are water, its front doors open onto water, its carriages are black boats, and the first sound its children learn, before language, before their own names, is the sound you're going to fall asleep to tonight. Water, touching stone, and letting it go, and touching it again. It is autumn, in the middle years of the 1700s. The summer heat has broken, the evenings have gone soft and blue, and the whole city smells of salt and wood smoke and wet stone. Nothing bad happens in Venice tonight. Nothing surprising happens either. The Republic is at peace, and has been at peace for a generation, so long that the men who remember the last war are old men now, telling the same stories on the same benches. The fleets come and go with cargo, not with soldiers. Tonight is one quiet night among tens of thousands of quiet nights that history never bothered to write down. That is why we are going. The chronicles kept the dodges and the processions and the sea battles. They let the quiet Tuesdays fall through, and the quiet Tuesdays were most of what a life was, even here, even in the most improbable city on earth. You are expected tonight, not at an inn, but at a house. A merchant family on a small side canal, friends of yours, the kind of connection that in this century is as good as kinship, have sent word that you are to come at dusk, eat at their table, and sleep under their roof. Theirs is not one of the grand palaces the travelers write home about. It is a narrow old family house that has stood in the water for longer than anyone can say, with a kitchen that smells of polenta and a spare bed under a heavy quilt. Here is the whole of tonight's story, given away at the start, the way we always do. A boat will carry you up a darkening canal. A door will open onto water and lamplight. You will be fed and warmed and shown to a bed above the canal, and the window will be left open a hand's width so the water can talk to you. And past midnight, a gentle rain will arrive, and you will hear it come across the lagoon and settle in for the night, and you will learn before you sleep why rain in this one city is not weather but a gift. That is everything. If you drift off in the middle of it, that is not an interruption. That is the story working. So, the boat is waiting. Let us glide the last stretch together. You are lying back against cushions in a gondola, low to the water, moving through the last of the dusk. The boat is black. Every gondola in Venice is black, and has been for nearly 200 years, ever since the Senate looked out at the water and saw the great families racing each other into ruin, gilding their boats, silvering their oarlocks, upholstering their cabins in silks that cost more than houses, and passed a law as calm as a bedtime. Enough. Paint them black, all of them. And so the proudest city in Europe rows itself about in identical black boats, rich man and modest man alike, and the peace of it has lasted to this evening, where it carries you. Amidship stands the little cabin they call the felza, a low black shelter with louvered shutters, snug as a confessional, for rain and for winter, and for passengers who prefer not to be seen. Tonight its shutters stand open, because the evening is mild, and there's nothing worth hiding, and you ride half inside it, like a pearl, half in its shell, watching the city slide past. Listen to how quiet a street can be. The oar does all the work at your back, one long oar and a carved wooden crook of an oarlock, a thing shaped like no other object in the world, cut and fitted by a craftsman to this one boatman the way a glove is cut to a hand. Each notch of it is a different stroke, a different speed, a different kind of turn. The blade dips, presses, lifts. Water drips from it in a line of small bright notes, and the boat breathes forward, and the wake unfolds behind you and lies back down. That is the whole traffic sound of this city. No hooves, no wheels, no iron on cobbles, a city of well over 100,000 souls, and it moves on dripping oars. Ahead, the canal narrows and bends, and the boatman gives the corner a call, a short, singing shout, the old words of the water, telling anyone unseen which side he is taking. From beyond the wall of houses comes an answering call, easy and unhurried, and a barge slides out of the side canal and passes you with a nod, riding low with cabbages and firewood for somebody's mourning. And from somewhere far behind, floating over the roofs, comes a stretch of song. A boatman somewhere is singing an old verse to himself, the way the boatmen here famously do, and another voice, canals away, picks up the next verse and sends it back. Travelers cross Europe and write letters home about that sound. You get it free, at dusk, at the exact hour it sounds best. Your boatman turns you out of the last busy water into a canal hardly wider than a corridor, where the houses rise straight out of the water on both sides, shuttered and dark, and the dusk overhead has gone the color of deep water. Far up the corridor, one lantern burns beside a low arched door at the waterline. That is the house. Somebody has lit the lamp because you are coming. Every house on this canal has two front doors, and neither of them is a back door. One opens onto a walking lane behind, for errands and neighbors and feet. The other opens onto the water, and the water door is the true front door, the one that receives you, because in Venice arriving properly means arriving by boat. The gondola slows the last few lengths, the oar just steering now, and the house comes up over you, 4 stories of old brick and stone, its face stained soft with centuries of tide. Wooden mooring posts stand out of the water by the door, leaning a little the way old posts do. The stone steps of the landing go right down into the canal and keep going, down out of sight, and you can read the water's whole autumn on them, the neat dark line of the last high tide, the green velvet of weed below it. The sea writes its height on every doorstep in the city, and the city reads it each morning the way other cities read the sky. The door stands open, and in it, holding a lamp, is the merchant himself, broad and unhurried, with the collar of his coat turned up against the evening. He has the boat's rope made fast in one motion, done 10,000 times, and his hand is out to you. And there is that small human moment that is the same in every century, the step from a moving thing onto a still one. His grip steady, the landing stone solid and cold under your foot, and you are ashore. Ashore, in the middle of the sea, on a doorstep. The boatman is paid and thanked, and sent home to his own supper with a blessing on his night. He backs his black boat out the way, a good hand backs a horse from a stall, and turns and goes, and his oar strokes fade down the corridor of water, drip and press and drip, softer and softer, until the canal is only lapping again. You step through the water door into the endrone, the long ground floor hall, and the merchant swings the door to behind you. The canal becomes a hush behind oak. Lamplight swims on a low ceiling. The whole room smells of rope and tar and river reeds, of oars stood in corners and crates against walls, and under everything, that cellar smell of stone that lives close to water and has made its peace with it. Nobody sleeps down here, and nothing lives down here that minds getting wet. That is the oldest housekeeping rule in Venice. The ground floor belongs a little to the sea, and the family belongs to the floors above, and everyone is comfortable with the arrangement. Down here are the boat things, the barrels and tools and firewood, everything either patient about water or standing on stone feet above it. In the high tides of autumn, the lagoon leans into the city, and some mornings, an inch or two of sea comes quietly in, under the door, and stands about the endrone, like a guest who has misread an invitation. The family sweeps it out when it turns to go, and thinks about it roughly as much as other cities think about frost on a window. The house was built knowing the water's moods. The door sill is high, the stores are shelved, the floor is stone. You do not fight the sea in this city. You keep house with it. And here's the thing to hold in your mind as you cross this floor, the fact that makes every step in Venice a small, quiet astonishment. The house is standing on a forest. Under these stones, driven down through the soft mud to the hard clay beneath, stand thousands of wooden piles, trunks of alder and oak, floated in from the mainland forest centuries ago, packed close as the teeth of a comb, and the mud, holding the air away from them, has hardened them almost to stone, and the whole city stands on such piles, millions upon millions of them. When they built the great white church at the mouth of the Grand Canal in the century before this one, the builders kept the tally, and the count of piles under that one church alone came to better than 1,000,000. Venice is a forest, upside down, asleep in the mud, carrying a city of marble on the soles of its feet. It has held for 1,000 years. It will hold tonight. The merchant lights you up the stair, stone below, then wood, the lamp swinging shadows up the wall, and with every step the air changes, cellar cool, giving way to hearth warmth, tar and tide, giving way to wood smoke and supper. The family lives up here, above the water's reach, where the windows catch the light and the floors are dry the year round. One more turn of the stair, a door opens, and the kitchen takes you in whole. The kitchen is the warmest room in the house and knows it. A fire burns small and busy on the hearth. A copper pot hangs over it, and the merchant's mother stands at the pot, stirring with a wooden paddle, nearly as long as an oar, in the slow figure that cannot be hurried, because what is in the pot is polenta, and polenta forgives nothing and rewards everything. It is maize meal, from the family's own sacks off the mainland, and it has been turning in that pot the better part of an hour, going thicker and glossier with every pass of the paddle. And it is white, not the gold of the mainland farms. Out here in the lagoon, they grow and grind a pale kind, white as the moon on water, and a lagoon family will tell you, without ever quite being asked, that the white sort is the finer, the softer, the proper bed for fish. You are in the one corner of Italy where polenta comes moon-colored, and you will remember it. The mother upends the pot over a round wooden board, and the polenta comes out all at once, a soft white full moon steaming in the lamplight, and the board goes to the middle of the table, and the family sits, and you sit among them. The merchant, his wife, his mother, a boy who has been eyeing you with frank commercial interest since the Stair, and a girl asleep on her feet who is carried to the table anyway, because supper is supper. Onto the white moon go the small fish, a heap of tiny gray shrimp from the lagoon shallows, no bigger than your thumbnail, boiled and dressed with oil, sweet as the sea, and gone in 2 bites. And from the cool of the larder, a dish that was made days ago and has only improved, sardines fried and then buried under soft cooked onions and vinegar, and because this is a good batch, a scatter of raisins and pine nuts worked through it, sweet and sharp together. It is boatman's food, in its bones. Sailors and fishermen worked out, generations back, that fish laid under cooked onions and vinegar keeps, on the water, day after day, when fresh fish would spoil in an afternoon, and what began as a way of keeping fish became a way of loving it, and now the whole city makes it, and every family swears by its own onions. There is bread, and there is wine from the mainland hills in a plain jug, poured well-watered for the boy, and a spoonful of the sweet onions on bread for the sleeping girl, who eats it without ever fully waking, which is a skill you intend to study closely before the night is out. Over the table hangs one brass oil lamp, and that is all the light, and it is enough. You will notice tonight that light in this house is spent the way money is spent, carefully, and in the right rooms. Wax candles are dear things here, kept in the chest for feast days, for company grander than you, for the front rooms when the front rooms must shine. An honest family evening runs on oil, on small, steady flames in brass and glass, and nobody has ever once felt poor by lamplight with polenta on the board. The talk at the table is slow and small, the way the best table talk is, the day's trade, a cousin's boat wanting caulking, and the weather, which in this city is a longer subject than anywhere on earth, because here the weather does not only fall on the city, it fills the city's cup. Rain is coming, the grandmother says, with the certainty of a woman who has smelled autumn over the lagoon for 70 years. And around the table, there passes, at that news, a small contentment you will not see anywhere else in Europe, and here is why. Venice sits in water and has no water. That is the city's oldest riddle, and every child here can recite it. The sea on every side, at the very doorstep, under the very floor, and not one drop of it fit to drink. There are no springs on these mud islands, no rivers, no sweet wells of the ordinary kind. And so this city, being the city, made itself a machine for drinking the sky. Every square in Venice, every campo where the children play and the neighbors argue, is secretly a funnel. The pavements are laid with a gentle slope, all falling toward hidden drains, and under each square lies a great buried chamber packed with river sand, and the rain that falls on the campo runs down through openings in the stones, filters slow and clean through all that sand, and gathers in a cistern at the middle, and the wellhead that stands above it, carved and capped, is where the neighborhood draws its water, bucket by bucket. And a well here is treasure, and treasure is kept. Each stands locked under its lid, and only twice a day, Morning and evening, a small bell rings for the wells alone, and a man of the parish comes with the key to open the neighborhood's water before the lid is closed again over the dark. The rain of one season is the drink of the next. When a dry summer runs long and the cisterns fall low, flat barges come in from the mainland, up from the river Brenta, full-bellied with sweet river water, and the watermen cry their cargo along the canals and fill the wells again, for a price, like any other merchandise. Water, sold by the boatload in the middle of the sea. But rain is the free delivery, the whole city's cup filling itself, and that is why the grandmother's forecast lands on the table like good news from a far port. So tonight, when the rain comes, remember what you are hearing, not weather, housekeeping. Every square in the city holding out its stone hands. The boy is sent to bed and goes the long way, collecting a crust, a look inside your traveling bag, and a wholly unearned kiss from his grandmother. At the door he turns, gives you a small bow, very much the merchant in miniature, and offers you one soft word of good night in the dialect of the lagoon. Hold that word gently. You will want it again before you sleep, and it has a longer road ahead of it than anyone at this table could dream. After supper, the house begins its slow orbit toward sleep, and you drift with the merchant through the long upper hall that runs the depth of the house, from the canal windows at the front to the lane windows at the back. This is the Portego, the spine of every Venetian house, cool and dim and nearly empty, a room kept for weddings and feast days, and the rest of the year kept for echoes. Your two lamps make a little walking island of gold in it. On the walls, dim shapes of pictures. Underfoot, a floor polished by 6 generations of exactly this evening walk. At the back windows, you look down into the walking lane, a corridor of dark air 1 bridge wide, and there you see the city's little lights doing their night work. At the corner, fixed to the wall of the opposite house, a small shrine holds a painted Madonna behind glass, and before her burns a lamp, oil bought by the pennies of the whole neighborhood, and her small flame is the lane's whole street light, as it has been time out of mind. The pious lamps came first, 1 corner at a time, and the city grew so used to walking by their light that in living memory, the state itself took up the habit, and now public lamps burn at the dark turnings of the greater streets as well. And travelers say Venice by night glows like no other city they know, a city lit the way a church is lit, low and gold and everywhere. Down the lane comes a bob of brighter light, swinging with a walker's rhythm. A codega, one of the lantern men of Venice, is walking a late gentleman home, going ahead of him with a horn-paned lantern on a pole, renting out light and company by the quarter hour, a whole modest profession made of the space between one shrine lamp and the next. The gentleman follows in the pool of it, dry and unbothered, and their footsteps patter away over a bridge and are gone. And a little after them, slower, passes the measured tread of the watch, a man of the night patrol, making his round with a lantern of his own, trying a door with his hand, glancing down the water, moving on. You have met this man before, if you have traveled with us a while. In Rome, he wore a hood against the cold. In old Japan, he walked the rain with wooden clappers, singing out about fire. Here he goes, soft-footed over little stone bridges with the sea lapping under him. Watchmen change. The watch never does. The merchant makes his own round now. The master's small patrol, and you walk it with him. Shutters are drawn in, room by room, wooden leaves folding over the night. each pair meeting with a soft wooden knock like a full stop at the end of a sentence. Lamps are pinched out behind you, one by one, each little light handed on to the next like the verse of a song, until the last lamp of the house is the one in your host's hand, walking you down the passage to your room. And as you go across the roofs of the city, the bells begin. Not an alarm, not a summons. Just the hour, being handed from tower to tower, the way everything in this city is handed, over water. Venice keeps more than 100 churches, and every one of them has a voice, and by now you could no more count them than count the lamps. But every Venetian ear, and yours too before you leave, learns to pick out the great ones from the far side of the roofs, the bells of the tall brick tower that stands over the square of San Marco, the campanile that ships at sea use for a landmark. 5 bells hang in that tower, and they are not anonymous. Each has her own name and her own errand, known to the whole city the way the whole city knows its aunts. One rings the nobles to their council, one rings midday, and the greatest of them, the deep one, the one whose voice is the floor under all the others, is called the Marangona, and she is named for the carpenters. The Marangoni, the shipwrights of the arsenal, the men who build the Republic's ships, rise to her voice in the dark of every working morning and lay down their tools at her voice every evening. The mightiest state on the sea named its greatest bell not for a saint or a prince, but for its carpenters. And if you want to understand this improbable city with one fact, that fact will do. At this hour the great bells are long since quiet, and it is the small nearby ones that speak. A parish tower, a few canals off, handing the hour to another, unhurried, each stroke arriving across the water a little softened, a little rounded, the hard edge of the bronze washed off by the crossing. Sound does that here. A bell over water does not so much strike as settle, the way a leaf settles on a pond, and by the time it reaches your window, it is less a sound than a place, wide and dark and calm, and the night rearranges itself gently around it, one sigh softer than before. The last stroke fades somewhere over the roofs. The merchant opens a door at the end of the passage, and there is your room, and the bed, and the quilt, and the window, with the canal below it, waiting. The room is small, and the bed is enormous, and that is the correct arrangement of a bedroom. The bed has been in this family longer than the memory of anyone living in it, a high wooden ship of a bed, and it has been made up for you with linen sheets, gone soft as breath from 100 washings, and over everything lies the quilt, a deep, heavy quilt stuffed thick with wool, the weight of a sleeping dog, across your whole body, the small, honest weight that has meant safety in every country there has ever been. The sheets are warm when you get in, because the wife of the house has been ahead of you, with a long-handled warming pan of embers, run between the sheets, the way a smoothing iron runs over linen, and the ghost of that warmth is waiting for you at the bottom of the bed, like summer left on deposit. Your host sets the lamp on the chest, turns the wick low, wishes you the good night of the house, and is gone, and his footsteps go away down the passage, and a far door closes, and the house is done for the day. And now the window. It stands open a hand's width, on purpose, and it will stay open, on purpose, because this is the one city on earth where the street sound under your window all night is water. Listen to it now, with the room dark and the quilt heavy and nothing left in the day to do. The canal touches the stone of the house and lets it go and touches it again. No two touches alike. A soft slap under the water gate, A long sip along the steps, the little knock of the moored boat against its post, patient as a heartbeat, and the creak of its wet rope taking the strain and giving it back. Somewhere down the corridor of water, one last oar, somebody's cousin getting home. Drip and press and drip, arriving somewhere, going still. The sea, tamed to a lullaby, one hand's width from your pillow. Lie and listen a while, because the water is a patient talker and never says the same thing twice. It gathers at the water gate below and lets go with a sound like a held breath released. It runs a long, slow finger up the steps and draws it back. When some far boat has passed, minutes ago, its wake reaches your wall at last and lifts against the stone in 3 or 4 soft rounds and settles again, arriving long after the boat that made it has gone to bed. And under it all, the moored boat keeps its slow count against the post, knock, and arrest, and knock, the wet rope tightening and easing. It has soothed this city to sleep for 1,000 years, and it has your name now. And here, under the quilt, in the dark, let me hand you the word the boy gave you at the kitchen door, because you have been carrying it unopened all evening. What he said to you was, Scavo vostro. It is the lagoon's way of saying, Schiavo, your servant. What it means, said Soft at a door at bedtime, is something like, I am yours, at your service. All courtesy, worn smooth as a doorstep, a very grand phrase gone gentle with use. The way an old sword handle becomes a smooth thing a child holds. And that little word is not done traveling. Over the long, slow centuries after tonight, it will keep wearing down, the way this doorstep wears down. Scavo, softening to Schau, and Schau, far in the future, clipping at last to a single bright syllable, Ciao. And people on every continent will greet each other and part from each other, morning and midnight, with that one soft Venetian word, and almost none of them will ever know that what they are saying, at the door, at the end of the evening, is what the boy meant. I am yours, at your service. Under the oldest words, somebody is always being kind. You may say it now, if you like, to the dark, to the house, to the water. Nobody here would find it strange. Past midnight, with the house long asleep, and you in the warm shallows just above sleep, the grandmother's weather arrives, and you get to hear a thing worth staying half awake for. Once, tonight, on her behalf. Rain, coming to a city of water. It comes the way she said it would, gently, from the seaside. A first scattering of drops on the canal below your window, and rain on a canal does not sound like rain on any street in the world. There is nothing hard for it to strike. Each drop lands on water, a small round syllable with no edges at all, thousands of small round syllables, until the whole canal is whispering, one long soft breath that does not need to pause. On the shutters it is a light fingertip patter, on the roof tiles above, a far soft washing, and beneath all of it, unbothered, unchanged, the old rhythm carries on, the canal touching the stone and letting it go and touching it again, so that the rain does not replace your lullaby. It joins it. And out there in the dark, remember, the city is drinking. On every square in Venice, the rain is running slow across the tilted pavements, finding the little carved openings among the stones, sinking down through the deep, clean sand, exactly as the old builders meant it to, and gathering, drop by filtered drop, in the great stone cisterns, where the wells keep the neighborhood's water, like a heart keeps blood. Tomorrow the buckets will come down on their ropes and find the water risen. Nobody is awake to see it happen. The city's oldest chore is doing itself, all over Venice, in the dark, while every soul who will drink from it sleeps. Rain anywhere else is something to be kept off you. Rain here is the roof filling the cup. Far off, muffled by the rain, a boatman's call drifts over the roofs. The singing shout of some last gondolier somewhere out on the wide water, taking a corner on his way home, and it hangs a moment and fades, and the rain closes softly over the place where it was. The last person in Venice is nearly home. The tide turns somewhere out beyond the lagoon mouths, immense and punctual and silent, and begins, very slowly, without disturbing anyone, to change the note of the water under your window. Tomorrow, before light, the Marangona will speak across the roofs, one deep bronze word at a time, and the shipwrights will rise in the dark and cross the wet squares to the arsenal, while the smell of rain is still on the stones. The shutters of this house will fold back one pair at a time. There will be bread, and the boat rocking at the water gate, and the canal all silver in the washed morning light, and the wells of the city standing an inch richer under their carved stone caps. But that is tomorrow, and tomorrow is not your concern, and it is not here yet, and it keeps. History will tell you about the city's doges and its fleets, its painters and its glass, and history is not wrong. But history was written by the daylight. It kept the processions and the sea victories and the golden ceilings, and it lost almost all the nights, and there were so many more nights than processions. Night after night after night like this one. Rain on 100 canals, lamps burning low before 100 painted Madonnas, a whole city asleep on its drowned forest, held up by the mud, held in by the sea, at ease with the water on every side of it, the way only long marriages are at ease. Almost nobody wrote those nights down, because everybody who lived them was sleeping, exactly as you are now, nearly 300 years downstream. This is the oldest thing you will ever do, older than the bells, older than the wells, older than the word the boy gave you, coming in off the water at the end of the day, eating at a family's table, trusting the walls to hold and the piles to bear, and the tide to keep its old appointments, and the night to pass on its own, because it always has, every single time, all the way back, no exceptions, not once. Your breathing has gone slow and deep. The rain goes on without needing you. On the canal, on the shutters, on every tilted square in the city, filling the wells for people who are all asleep. The moored boat knocks its post, patient as a heartbeat. The canal touches the stone and lets it go, and touches it again. The first sound this city ever taught its children, teaching it now to you. Let the last of the day go now. It was a good day. It got you here. The water will keep till morning. The morning will keep till you wake. Sleep now, traveler. Good night. History will keep till morning.